You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 9th episode of the Armchair Cricket Podcast. This is a podcast focusing on Test cricket by Armchair Critic South Game. We're recording this episode on 16th of February after witnessing a piece of cricketing history being rewritten at Kingsmead, Durban, South Africa. So keep listening to our podcast and also introduce this to your cricket-loving friends. Thank you so far, for all your support. You can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify and other podcasting platforms, whichever you use. Just look for Armchair Cricket Podcast. You should be able to find us there quite easily. Wherever you listen to us, do not forget to leave us, a 5-star rating and share your comments or, share your thoughts in the comment section. I would also like to wish, I would like to express our gratitude to Guerrilla Cricket South Africa radio commentary team and 1WSR radio network in South Africa for giving us a nice boost on their broadcasting platforms, because they played a part of our episodes, one of our episodes during a tea break in the ongoing test match at Durban. You can reach out to us through email. Our email address is armchair.cricket@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @armchaircrickpod. You can find us active on Twitter during an ongoing match. You can join us there for a banter. Now, having said that, I have with me, like always, Ajit, who is my co-host. Hello, Ajit. How are you doing?
Hello, Giri. I'm doing good. So, as you rightly pointed out, some very interesting test match today to discuss for us.
Yeah. But you must also be happy that one of your heroes is celebrating his birthday.
Michael Holding, you mean?
Yeah, the Whispering Death.
Wow, indeed. So, I think we should wish Mr. Michael Holding a very happy 65th birthday.
Yeah.
And also we have Wasim Jaffer, who's celebrating his 41st birthday today.
Yeah.
So, wishing him as well. Indeed.
Yeah, best wishes.
Indeed. All right. So, I think before we go into the first test match, let's quickly look at the trivia question from last week. So the trivia question from last week was, who is the highest wicket taker in cricket 50 over World Cups so far, right? So the answer to this question, we didn't get any positive responses this week either. The answer to this question is Glenn McGrath, the Australian fast bowler, who was quite a phenomenon when it come to World Cup for Australia, right? So he's taken 71 wickets in a mere 39 matches. Right, so that's very good. After him is Muttaya Muralidharan, who took 68 wickets. But the most important thing that we can I think point out when it comes to McGrath is he was very instrumental. He's a triple World Cup winner. He's a hat-trick World Cup winner with Australia, right? 99, 2003, and 2007. And I think he played a very crucial part in each of those tournaments as far as the bowling of Australia goes. And I think he led their attack very admirably. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a very nice list when you look at this list, that of all the people who have taken very high number of wickets in World Cups, you have Wasim Akram, you have Vas, you have Srinath, you have Donald, right? Imran Khan. All these form the top 10. Shane Warne, I think, rounds it off. So it's a really a list of who's who when it comes to the best bowlers in their time. Therefore, I think this is also a good way of looking at really good one-day performances from bowling perspective. And you sort of peak in the World Cup, be it football, be it cricket, be it any other sport. You sort of, when you peak in a world championship, it really shows how good you are. You are able to perform at the highest level, at the highest stage. So it's really good to see, and he sort of rightfully takes his place at the top of that list, Glenn McGrath. Right. All right, then that was the question and the answer. If you can wait until the end of this episode, we will also give you another trivia question for next week. And we are always very keen to hear your thoughts, your comments, and also, the answers to these questions. So far, we've not received any answers, but we would really like it if you take an attempt at answering the question. I know sometimes our questions I hear can be a bit tough, But we want to make it a bit interesting for both a cricketing connoisseur as well as somebody who's starting out in cricket. So sometimes we choose our question a little bit, that's a bit hard. But we are not, we are never saying anybody don't Google. So I don't mind, or we don't mind if you actually Google and get an answer for us. It's not something that we don't ask our listeners to do. It'd be great if you guessed it, or if it'll be great if you already take it out of your cricketing knowledge. But you can also learn about cricket or some interesting aspects of cricket this way. That is our goal, right? All right then. So Giri, shall we quickly then get to the first test at Durban?
Yeah. I mean, what a match! What a match! This is the prime example of how Test cricket should be played. I think this just shows the longest format of the game is still alive and kicking. I don't know if it was ever dead, but it just proves itself again to the world that unbelievable. I think I didn't say that I would eat my hat in one of our previous episodes, but if I had said that, I would do that.
I don't
gladly, yeah.
No.
Well, I had put down Sri Lanka pretty badly. I have to say, I had given them no chance after their dismal performances in Australia. I was expecting no less from them, but wow, unbelievable. If you look at what happened at Durban, Kingsmead, I think they proved me wrong. In the most incredible way. I think there was a fantastic test match, like I said. I'll just run through the scores, and then we can do a short summary, and then we can discuss the more intricate details.
Sure.
So Sri Lanka won the toss at Durban, which, like any other South African pitch is pacey. But I think we discussed this in our previous episode that this was expected to be a bit spin friendly, even for a South African pitch. That was the expectation. And this is the home ground of Hashim Amla as well as Keshav Maharaj. So these two guys were playing at their home ground. So Sri Lanka won the toss, and then they elected to field first. South Africa, South Africa had a top order collapse. So they lost their first 3 wickets for 17 runs. Aiden Markram, Dean Elgar, and Hashim Amla, all three of them got out cheaply. And I think then in walked Temba Bavuma, and along with Faf du Plessis, the captain, they put a steady partnership for about 72 runs, I think, to stabilize the innings a little bit. But then Bavuma got out when the score was 110. And I think after that, Faf du Plessis and Quinton de Kock, they put on a much needed partnership. I think Faf du Plessis was in his 30s when he got out, but then Quinton de Kock, he played the quintessential counter-attacking innings that we have, that has been associated with him, that he is identified with in the Test cricket or one-day cricket. He's known for his counter-attacking innings, and he played one of those. He made 80 runs, and I think thanks to him, along with some support from Keshav Maharaj, who scored 29, quickfire 29, and also, Dale Steyn held his ground for a bit. So with those contributions, South Africa made it to 235. They were all out for 235 inside of 60 overs. So that's, if you count the number of overs, it's more like 2 sessions. Although we can, I think it stretched to beyond it stretched to the 3rd session as well. But Sri Lanka began, Sri Lanka began steadily, but they lost their first wicket at 19. So Thirimana got out to Steyn. I think he was fishing outside off stump, and then he got caught behind. He's an opening batsman. We expect more to him to do from him, But unfortunately, he got out very quickly. This guy Fernando came in at 1 round. Oshada Fernando, not Vishwa, but Oshada Fernando. There were some starts there in the middle order. Fernando scored 19. Mendes scored 12 runs, and he got out to Philander. Karunaratne was there on the other end when Fernando got out as well. I think Karunaratne, the captain himself, got out for 30 runs. And Sri Lanka were in the end, I think, I would say they lost their way basically. And apart from this guy, Kushal Perera, he modeled his batting on Sanath Jayasuriya, and this guy played a counter-attacking innings. I think him and Dhananjaya De Silva, both of them played. I think they had I think they had a good partnership, but not long enough to make an impact. But Kushal, he was the guy left out towards the end. He had to play with the tail. But surprisingly, the debutant, Ambul Denia, I hope I got his name right. Ambul Denia, he made 20 odd runs. He made 24 runs and supported Kushal Perera. And thanks to these guys, in the end, Sri Lanka made 191. I never thought they would make it that far, but in the end, they made 191 runs. So the lead was 44 runs. So South Africa had a healthy lead of 44 runs. And on this pitch, looking at the batting performances from both sides, this was a good lead, I think, because with the bowling attack that South Africa had, they could always score quick runs. Put a lead of 400, 450, and then basically take Sri Lanka down. Sri Lanka would not have a chance to bounce back unless they really fought hard. But surprisingly, South Africa, they were not so bad. They began well. Top order did not contribute profusely. They were there with some starts, but they didn't capitalize until Faf du Plessis and again Quinton de Kock, another counter-attacking innings. Those two guys helped South Africa reach a good score. I think they were, if I'm not wrong, I think when Quinton de Kock got out, they were 191 for 5. So you add to that 44 runs lead. That's about 235, 240 runs lead they had by the time Quinton de Kock got out. And then I think Faf du Plessis also had a small partnership with Vernon Philander, who got out at the score 251. The sixth wicket falling at 251, another 8 runs were added. That's it. So by 259, South Africa were bowled out.
Indeed.
Unbelievably. I mean, they lost their last 5 wickets for just 8 runs. And if you look at this in the context of the whole match, I think this made a huge difference, because they could have easily added another 50 or even 100 runs with 2 set batsmen like Quinton de Kock and Faf du Plessis, also with all-rounders like Philander and Maharaj is also able to contribute with the bat. If they had done, if they had spent more time with the crease, I think they would have taken Sri Lanka out of the game. But Sri Lanka, full credit to them, especially Ambul Denia. Ambul Denia, he got 5 on his debut in the second innings. So that's well done to him. And then the other seamer, Vishwa Fernando, who reminds me a lot of Chaminda Was.
Indeed. That's
very similar in stature, also in action. So this guy got 4 wickets. And, together they bowled South Africa out for 259 runs. But, we have to talk about Sri Lanka's second innings. I think that was unbelievable. Sri Lanka had a very good opening partnership. They had a very steady partnership. Both their opening batsmen got starts. They made 20 odd runs. When Thirimana got out to this guy Rabada, he was the first guy to fall. The score was 42. And when he got out, I think in the very next over, Karunaratne also got out to Philander. So they were 42 for 2 down, and then in walked Mendes, and Mendes got out for a duck. So the Sri Lanka were on the mat, basically. They had lost their 3 wickets for 52 runs, staring at a target of 304. I forgot to mention that. So Sri Lanka had a target to chase, and that was 304 runs. I think this Oshada Fernando, he contributed a bit. He was there for a bit. He got 37 runs. But Kushal Perera, he was the guy who held their innings together. You have to see that what he did in the first innings. I think he was batting with the tail towards the end, and then he lost his patience and he tried to score runs quickly, and then he himself got out, so he couldn't extend his stay. But in this second innings, he spent a lot more time at the crease, and he was very, very careful in playing balls outside the off stump, and also he was very decisive in his stroke play. Okay, if I can put it that way. He was there when Fernando got out. Dikwela walked in. Sri Lanka happened to lose wickets in quick succession. So when Fernando got out, Dikwela walked in. Dikwela was also out almost immediately, and then in walked Dhananjaya De Silva. I think Dhananjaya De Silva and Kushal Perera showed earlier in the first innings that they could spend a bit of time at the middle. On this occasion, Dhananjaya De Silva, I think he played a vital role in providing impetus in the middle order. I think they basically held their ground for nearly 100 runs. I think they had a partnership of 96 runs before Dhananjaya De Silva played a horrible sweep shot against Maharaj. We'll talk about the reason why he did that, Ajit.
Yeah, of course.
And then once that happened, Sri Lanka lost their wickets again. Like Lakmal got out the very next ball, and Ambul Renia got an unplayable bouncer from Dwan Olivier. So they were down. They were down. I think Rajita also got out very quickly. So they were 226 for 9 with how many runs? 78 runs still required.
Indeed.
And Kushal Perera was, I think, on 70 or 80 runs. And then what happened is history. They basically rewrote history books, these two guys. Fernando, of course, he played his part. He was there. He spent more than an hour at the crease, out in the middle, but he placed 27 deliveries for 6 runs. But more importantly, Kushal Perera rotated strike beautifully. I think he chose when to attack, when to defend, and when to take a single. And he ended up scoring a match-winning innings of 153 not out. I never envisaged this happening. I thought Sri Lanka were gone, but this guy played an unbelievable innings, and then I think full credit to him and full credit to Sri Lankan cricket team for proving me wrong, for putting up such a magnificent fight and winning the game, winning the match. And taking a lead of 1-0 in the series. So, yeah, man of the match was indeed Kushal Perera, if there was any doubt. It could only be him. I think this was one of the best test innings, fourth innings batting display ever. And, yeah, that's basically it. So 1-0 at the end of first test match, and a lot to look forward to in the second match.
Indeed. So, you've summarized the whole match very nicely. So before we go into the details of maybe also looking at some of the individual innings that are there. So some small stats, first of all, you said you put Sri Lanka down, but I think we did it together in the last episode, right? But if you look at it, it's not a problem because we were not entirely wrong up until about, I don't know, half of the 3.5 days, we were not really wrong, right? So, but in the end, what transpired after that was almost miraculous. So you already captured it, because we were sort of thinking, this is going to go to script. To be frank with you, when the 9th wicket was dismissed, I took probably 10 more minutes of just looking at what was happening and what sort of whether it was going to be all over immediately. Then I went on with my chores, for the rest of the day. Then I happened to look at it again 45 minutes later, and they were still playing. That's when I really got interested in it, and I couldn't take my eyes off the action and also my ears off the radio commentators listening to for the last, let's say, half an hour or 45 minutes remaining, right? So first of all, I don't think anybody needs to blame themselves or feel too bad about it. Sri Lanka were not really looking equipped to win this match, or they were never even looking equipped to actually challenge South Africa. Right. And it was sort of unfolding that way until the last, let's say the last 1/4 of the match. I'll tell you why. So you already captured it. So if you were to look at some statistical highlights, the other thing, Vishwa Fernando took 8 wickets in the match, 4 wickets in each innings. So that I think was a very good return for him on this wicket. And it's after all, this is a wicket well known for spinners, actually. This is what you had already mentioned in the previous episode, one of the slower wickets in South Africa, right? But it still bodes well that this guy is able to do good. If you remember, they sort of surprised Australia a little with their fast bowling in the second test. So this was one of the guys that was inducted into the team when the entire fast bowling lineup had to be changed for Sri Lanka, right, in the second test. So he did good on the first morning, right? So this guy has some talent, and of course he also has some good skill, and he's able to exploit this new ball very well on a good, helpful pitch. So this is something to Sri Lanka can take forward. And also, I think you pointed out rightly, Oshada Fernando did a very good job. First innings he looked a bit uncomfortable, but in the second innings he was starting to come into his own. So this guy Oshada Fernando is coming off an incredible run. If you look at his last few, let's say, months of cricket, this guy is coming off an incredible run, and out of nowhere he's catapulted into the international team, right? So if you were to go back to, let's say, 4th of January onwards, if you look at his first class stats in the last 4 matches, his scores are something like 50, 23, 65, 105, 109, 234, 52, 8. So if you remember, I think we were discussing in one of the previous episodes, Sri Lanka, in an attempt to try to get the pitch a bit more pace friendly, ordered that a bit more grass be left on the wicket, but that made the wicket more firmer. And the fast bowlers could not make advantage, the batsmen took advantage. So it became high scoring matches, and this guy was one of the people who was able to reap the rewards, right? As a result, he's in the team, and in the second innings, he sort of gave us a glimpse of what this person can be once he's a finished product at the highest level. He was able to occupy the crease, still rotate the strike. This guy could be a long-term solution for Sri Lanka if he is able to bed down into this lineup. There are many openings in this lineup, right? Especially with Dinesh Chandimal also missing and Angelo Matthews missing. This guy has thrown his hand into the ring. So there are 2 major top-order batsmen missing. They're still able to, compete very well, and this guy has really shown that. So some small positives for Sri Lanka. And then, of course, Ambul Denia. I think there is a bit of confusion whether it's Ambul Denia or Embul Denia. So for now, we'll stick with Ambul Denia. So this guy took a 5-4 in the second innings. So, he has a very, very relaxed run-up, let me put it like this. He appears like a regular club bowler that I play against or play with on a normal basis. But I think when you look at his bowling areas, that stands out. I was looking at his lengths and his lines. He was able to get the right length on this pitch in the second innings. Right, in the first innings he hardly bowled 10 overs, but in the second innings he actually showed that he has the skill. He has the sort of thinking brain that is required for Test match cricket. So that was very nice to see, and he took a 5-4. So, and also he bowled 26 overs and just considered 66 runs and took a 5-4. So I think there's a very nice article that Andrew Fidel Fernando has written, in which he says this guy's come and occupied an empty house, the house that was vacated by a certain banker or a bank clerk, right? Herat. So he's taken he can be one of the long-term prospects. He may have sort of leapfrogged people like Malinda Pushpakumara and other people who are sort of in the queue to replace Herat. If you remember in one of our previous episodes, we were sort of saying between Dilruwan Pereira and Lakshan Sandakan and maybe Malinda Pushpakumara, they have a good spinning trio when they play at home. Now this guy also comes into the picture. I think he did a really good job. So some other nice, gains for Sri Lanka from this test. Also, I think what you said, Sri Lanka really made a good comeback in the last quarter of this match, and that started when they first of all dismissed South Africa from, as you say, 5 for 251 to 259. So in a matter of 8 runs, South Africa were dismissed, and that was probably the turning point, or that's where the match started turning, right? But then it's still going to script if you're a South Africa supporter, and you've already captured very nicely. Both the openers got a start, but they couldn't go on, right? And then usually Karunaratne, the captain, and also Mendes, right? Kusal Mendes, these both are very good in the second innings. And I was expecting one of them will stand up and sort of get counted and try to show that, Kusal Mendes has played quite a few rearguard knocks. Even as late last year, he played a knock with Angelo Matthews, right? To sort of take Sri Lanka to a draw, right? So with all this in mind, when they were all gone and the score was still only 52, you thought, oh God, they're in trouble, right? And then it slowly became 4 for 110 with Oshada Fernando got out and 5 for 110 when the was dismissed. You sort of saw the writing on the wall. So until then, we were still right, sort of, in our predictions. Then the script starts turning, right? As you say, Pereira, along with De Silva, I think De Silva is sort of made to earn his spot in the top order back. He's purposely held back and played behind Dikwella because Dikwella is a bit more attacking. Normally, you would think with Pereira being an attacking option, you would probably promote De Silva to play with Pereira and keep Dikwella to play with the tail. But because there are still many runs left, probably Sri Lankan management chose to promote Dikwella and see if he could score a quick 50 or a 60 and try to put more pressure on South Africa, but that didn't happen. Then the script, as I said, started turning, and I think Dhananjaya De Silva played a very rash shot. So you already said we'll discuss it. So I think it was a thought-out decision or a thought-out dismissal by South Africans. They did it well. So this brings us to 2 points. One is how he was dismissed and who was the bowler who dismissed him. So the bowler who dismissed him was Keshav Maharaj. But do you think Keshav Maharaj bowled enough in the second innings, or did he bowl enough at that stage, do you think, Giri?
I think there are 2 points we have to look at here. In the first innings, he bowled only 3 overs, and South Africa themselves bowled 59.4 overs, so almost 60 overs. So he bowled just 3 overs out of that, okay? And maybe that's okay because it's still the first day or second day pitch, and there is not enough turn on offer.
Exactly.
He went for 16 runs, so that's fine. In the second innings, South Africa bowled, all in all, I think 85 and bit overs, so almost 86 overs. Out of which Keshav Maharaj bowled 20 overs.
Yeah.
So the remaining 66 overs were shared between the quickies, the fast bowlers. So Vernon Philander was out of commission because of an injury, so he didn't bowl, I think, in the session after lunch. So in the second session, he was basically non-existent.
Yeah.
So they had to share bowling. The 3 quick bowlers, Steyn, Duan Olivier, and then Rabada. These 3 had to share the bowling. And then finally, Keshav Maharaj was brought in, I think maybe as a last resort. That was only for his second spell, I think. The first spell did not yield any wickets, so he was brought in for a second spell or a subsequent spell. I don't know if it's second or third. Maybe there was a short 1 or 2 over burst before the lunch break. I don't recollect that. But so when he was brought in, I think they were kind of desperate to find a way to break this partnership. They had 90-odd runs partnership between Kusal Pereira and De Silva. So they had to do something there. And 20 overs in this context, out of 86 overs, I think it's a little less. Maybe the quick bowlers needed a break. And maybe he could have rotated, I think you mentioned this offline, that Keshav Maharaj bowled from one end while another quick bowler, be it Rabada or Steyn or Olivier, they rotated basically amongst themselves. This end was fixed, and he wouldn't allow them to score runs or anything, bowl tightly, like Jadeja Jadej, for example.
Exactly.
For India.
Exactly.
So I think maybe Faf du Plessis kind of took it for granted that they were going to get their wickets. They thought they had enough runs on board. Maybe they had. Maybe they didn't execute their plans well enough. Although
could be.
De Silva got out, and then there was 3 other wickets which fell after him. But did he take it too lightly? What do you think?
He may have. We discuss about this when we talk about certain Indian captains, right? Because we come from a slowish pitch when we play at home in India. They are not good captains of fast bowlers. One of the things that led to India losing the series in England was not just that the Indian batsmen let the Indian team down, but also that as a captain, you're still not sure of how to use your resources. You have fast bowlers in the team, but you're not used to captaining them in your own conditions, right?
Right.
That could be a problem. So maybe Faf du Plessis is facing the same problem when it's turned around. So he's so used to, captaining fast bowlers. He knows the sort of fields, the sort of thinking, and when to introduce this faster bowlers. He doesn't have to think too much. But on the other hand, when it comes to spinners, this is a skill that he needs to learn as a skipper, right? As you said, you as a skipper, you would probably, the moment Vernon Philander hobbled off, this guy used to be the guy who used to hold one end up, right? So that the other guys could get wickets. So the moment he's not there, then you would naturally turn to your spinner. So this was a very, a good point you brought up, because when Dhananjaya De Silva was dismissed, I think Keshav Maharaj sort of proved a point when he took 2 wickets in 2 balls. As you said, Dhananjaya De Silva was also thought out because it was a classic spinner's dismissal where you bring a deep fielder in, they brought mid-wicket in, and they allowed Dhananjaya De Silva, who was on 48, to see a gap where he could get a 50 easily, right? And then he drifted one in nicely, which he missed, and he was plumb. right?
Yeah.
He was initially given not out, but then I think Alim Dar was having a little bit of a snooze.
I think they had a bad match. This the umpires had a
Right.
bad match this one.
We can also discuss this at the end. There's a nice point, right?
Sure.
So the point is, in this case, he was dismissed. But then next ball, you saw that earlier in the over, he had already shown that the ball was gripping and turning off the rough for the left-hander, right? Kusal Pereira. So if he was bowling continuously, maybe as you say, the moment he held one end up, or he bowled one end continuously for the most of the middle session, I think South Africa would have wrapped the match up.
Yeah.
Right. Kusal Pereira would have been dismissed, probably caught at point, or caught in the deep, trying to go for an adventurous shot when he saw the ball do too much. He was really not subjected to that. But that's one angle of it. So South Africa not using their spinner well. In the end, when you have 4 or 5 full bowlers, bowling 20 overs doesn't look bad in the end. But then the times when he bowled, or when he didn't bowl, more importantly, was probably very costly for South Africa.
Yeah.
Right? This is a good point you made. The other point is that I think Faf du Plessis sort of lost the plot a little. Right? So the moment 9 wickets were down and there were still 78 runs left, South Africa, I think, relaxed a little in their mind. They knew it was going to be over, right? We all do this. It tends to happen on the cricketing field when guy one more wicket, he's out. But the point is, they never gave up, and that's where I would like to give a lot of credit to Kusal Pereira. I think he kept that attacking mindset going. In the initial few overs, he sort of took singles earlier in the over, even for fast bowlers. Then he realized maybe Fernando may not last too many balls, so he then changed his game so that he would give only 1 or 2 balls to Fernando, right? So if you look at the partnership of 78, Fernando only scored 6, and there were a couple of buys as well. I think there were some extras. So if you can imagine, I think this guy by himself scored 65 plus runs in that partnership.
Yeah,
that's classic test match batting, especially under pressure while chasing a big target. That's like genius level stuff for me, right? And also he never lost his attacking instincts. He kept attacking. So when he saw a ball that was in his half, I think there were these 2 classic flicks that went to 6 in the deep square leg boundary of Stein. I think we were discussing this offline. Remember?
Yeah.
So that was a good example. Even the winning shot, what he hit, that showed his cricketing awareness. There are 4 runs required, and you see, because you have a very strong cut, probably the third man fielder is a bit squarer than normal. Then this guy just glides one past slip. There's a slip, but he's still very clever to glide it. It's a one-day shot. Something maybe Faf du Plessis did not even anticipate, and he gets a 4 and the match is finished, right? He really deserves a lot of kudos. I don't know if you are following, Giri, the number of body blows he took and the number of injuries he had to go through.
Yeah, I remember that. I think he had one on his hand. I almost thought he broke his wrist, basically, because he was writhing in pain. He was really down, and then gave it some, that magic spray and some painkillers, and then he was back on his feet. And I think that it was very gritty. I liked that very much in him, that character. Yeah.
I think he was also hit on the head once. So
on the badge.
He took a couple on the body. So if you look at all that, I mean, this innings, I think you tweeted rightly later after the match that this innings was probably worth 3 times what Sanjay Jayasuriya scored, 340.
More, I think. Even
on that highway. Or I think, what did you call it? Runway, highway.
Runway, yeah.
It was that. In that 900 that Sri Lanka scored 952, I think it was pretty much a highway. Because if you remember, neither of the team really completed their innings. They both had declared, and there were more than 1,400 runs scored.
India had 500 and then Sri Lanka had 900.
So I would rather any day take a test match like this that ends in 4 days, but so much of interesting things going on, right? Yeah. This is one thing. The other thing, if I were to just look at his career a little bit, this Kusal Pereira is indeed, he takes, mimicking Jayasuriya to a next level. Did you know he was a right-hander until the age group of 30?
I know. Yeah, I read this somewhere. Yeah.
How do you do that? One is you switch like Saurav Ganguly when you are much younger, and then you sort of grow into the age group cricket as a left-hander. But this, like, you're at 13, sort of when all your technique is nearly sort of grooved. Yeah. You switch over. How do you do that? I can't imagine that. Playing gully cricket, we used to sometimes just turn around and bat. It's a very done thing. I used to find it difficult because I used to not be able to keep the ball down, what I'm able to do very easily while playing right-handed. But this guy, he has all the strokes. He doesn't look like he was a converted southpaw.
You know what? Maybe he's ambidextrous without him knowing about it.
Maybe he is. You could very much have hit. He's a keeper, right? He's also a keeper.
Yeah.
So another test team, if you look at it very carefully, they have three keepers playing. Right? We did mention this. So, but Mendes keeps, Kusal Pereira keeps, and of course Likwala is the keeper. So another team with three keepers. I think this is the fashion going forward. But anyway, getting back to this test, this innings will remain in my consciousness for a very long time. Right? I think, as somebody mentioned on Twitter, I think I had to have a lie down after the match. It was so exciting. Right?
Yeah. You know what? One more thing I want to mention. Another match which remains in my memory for about 20 years now. Barbados. You remember Barbados?
Which
West Indies against Australia.
Lara
and Walsh.
Oh God.
Completing a one-wicket victory again.
Man.
That was one of the record. I think that was one of the best fourth innings. I don't recollect watching it on television, but I do remember reading it in the newspaper. Back in those days, I didn't have a chance to watch all these matches on live. But funnily enough, Kusal Pereira's final score, what was it in the second innings?
Well done. I was about to go there myself.
Yeah?
153. Lara was
Brian Charles Lara also scored 153 not out at the end of that match.
Good one, man.
Coincidence.
Or not, apparently. So, very good point you picked up there. But excellent. So, again, these are the sort of days, if as a test fan, you would live for, literally.
Yeah.
Right? If you remember that block that I think Monty Panesar and Jimmy Anderson, I think where was it? In Rose Bowl, I think, where they denied Australia in the last 20 minutes to get a draw so that England could sort of go on and take the victory in the series Ashes, right? That one. Or that 2005 Ashes where with only a couple of balls remaining, Kasparovic was dismissed, caught behind.
Oh, that was agonizing.
Right?
I still remember that.
Right?
Unbelievable.
For that matter. Or if you remember Lakshman's victory where he took India home with the last man company, Oja. I think one of the only times in his career where you saw a bit of emotion on Lakshman on field. Where you're shouting at Oja, what are you doing, when he was almost run out. Remember, had a runner and right. So these are
did you have? You also had some more matches that you had listed on earlier. Do you want to highlight some of them? Because I think it's a very good occasion to.
You mean the one-wicket victories?
Yeah, one-wicket victories. Yeah, some of the more recent ones or some of the more famous ones.
I think there is a fantastic article on Cricinfo, right, where they highlight 5 fantastic matches like this, where you had this would make a good reading, right? So they point out 5 real thrillers. Every one-wicket victory is definitely a thriller, but I think so far there are 13 such instances. So of one-wicket victory being pulled off. The first ever instance was in 1902 when England did it against Australia at the Oval, and the latest is today, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at this, Pakistan have done it twice, West Indies have done it twice, India has done it only once, which we just spoke, and also New Zealand have done it once, England have done it 3 times, interestingly, but all the 3 times were the last of this was in 1920s. They've never done it since. So some interesting things. So as you pointed out, that match where Lara scored 153 to take, that was a 2-all draw that between Australia and West Indies, that series. Yeah. That was a very good one. And then if you remember, Pakistan sort of denying Bangladesh.
Wow. And Inzi, right? Yeah.
Exactly. One of those, again, very sedate, very sort of very calm person, sort of showing a lot of emotion after the victory.
I remember watching that match live, actually. Right? At least the last fag end of it.
And I remember some of the Bangladeshi players in tears because they had never had a test match victory yet at that stage.
Yeah, I think they almost had it. I think India stole it from right under their noses, basically.
Right? And the other match, which Pakistan won, where, with 4 runs remaining, Inzi stepped out of the crease and missed the ball entirely, and so did Healy. It was 1 ball. And the ball went away to 4 boys and 1.
Can you believe that? Wow.
Those are real heart-stopping moments, right? Again, in this match, if you were to come back here, there was one such heart-stopping moment with, I think, 7 or 8 runs required, right? And one of the last balls of the over that was being bowled by Stein or Rabada, if I don't...
I think it was Stein.
It was Stein, you're right.
Yeah.
So if you remember, that was one of the last chances South Africa had. They had gone completely cold. They had run out of ideas how to stop this guy, because you can't keep an in-out field because he scores around the pitch, right?
Yeah.
And he's very strong off the on square on both sides.
Yeah.
What sort of surprised me was South African bowlers kept bowling short or kept bowling wide. But before we go there, just to recap what happened here, with 7 or 8 runs left, this guy sort of tries to edge. Fernando was on strike, right? Vishwa Fernando.
Yeah.
So Vishwa Fernando bats right, if I'm not wrong. So even though he bowls left, he bats right, and he tried to, avoid one, and I think he almost edged one to slip. Where Dean Elgar stops it and sort of still on the ground, and Faf du Plessis picks up the ball. When he tries to throw the stumps down, you see that Pereira has run. He's trying to get Fernando to get to the other side, and sort of sold him down the river, right? This was one of those 1 second instances where I think Faf du Plessis shouted to Stein to let the ball go rather than giving it to Stein, because it was a clear dismissal. Because Stein was still ahead of Fernando, who was coming to try to reach the non-striker's end. It was a clear dismissal, and sort of Stein was not ready. He was not completed his.
He was still in his follow through. Yeah,
exactly. That was really the really unfortunate thing. If you were to look at one of those things where we said what happened, right?
And then this there was overthrows basically. 4 more runs. The ball went to the boundary.
Oh yeah,
and they got 5 runs in the end.
Yeah, so
prior to that, one more thing I want to mention. Prior to that, Quinton de Kock had taken off his keeper gloves, wicket-keeping gloves from his right hand, because he was waiting, for a bye for them to run. And he was ready for that. But anyway, this was an edge, and then he went to the slips. They got 5 runs.
Little bit of a presence of mind that can probably be the difference between a victory and a loss. Yeah. It would have broken South African hearts. It did break South African hearts. It would have broken Sri Lankan hearts. But this sort of presence of mind, or one small thing, additional kudos always to the batsman who's scoring. We were discussing lengths, right? South Africa sort of ran out of ideas when it came to lengths, and I think Rabada also and Stein did not know where to bowl to this guy. If you bowled a little bit in his space, he would flick you or hit you in the air in a one day or a T20 mode, right? Yeah, let's not forget Kusal Pereira for a short point in time held the fastest ODI 50 record, and he's very prolific T20s. So they're aware of that, and he sort of showed it multiple times through this innings when he cut hard for 4s or flicked hard for 6s, right? So they are completely unaware of where to bowl. That took me by surprise, because somebody with Stein's experience, right, you would know. So there are just not two lengths on the good cricket pitch. So one is, there are still Yorkers, that's fine, but you don't have to bowl short because you can, right? But what surprised me was the line that they continue to bowl. That was really surprising, and I think they played it to Kusal Pereira's hands there. Yeah, he plays so good square of the wicket. I mean, I think you make a good point. We can go on and on. I could go wax lyrical about Kusal Pereira's innings, or you could. But I think we should quickly wrap this up. One small thing to point out in the end, Vishwa Fernando has a first-class average of 7, right? So special kudos. He might be of a category of Chris Martin or Courtney Walsh, this sort of a batsman, or a Shannon Gabriel sort of a batsman. So with almost no qualms, one of those last vestiges of old school cricket where he can't bat much. So special mention to this, right, when it comes to how Kusal Pereira handled it. And before we completely go out of this test match discussing this, so I think we have to also say that, as you say, umpires had a shocker of a test match, right?
Yeah.
I think Alimdar looked really out of sorts, and both umpires looked really out of sorts. I don't know what was going on. Did you see any of this?
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think they were not in their best form. Let me put it that way. Maybe they were tired as well. Because the one...
Yeah, go on.
No, sorry. The one which Dhananjaya De Silva got out to, when I saw it live on television, I immediately knew it was plumb. It was going to hit leg stump.
Exactly.
But Alim Dar gave it not out. I was wondering, why is this guy not, giving him out? And then thankfully South Africa appealed. And surprisingly, I think in the first innings, Sri Lankan first innings, Karunaratne was out LBW, if I'm not wrong.
Precisely.
Yeah, and then he was given out by Alim Dar again. But he did not review this, and as soon as he walked back to the dressing room, his staff suggested, backroom staff suggested he should have reviewed it, because it was clearly missing the stumps.
I think it was Fernando.
Fernando? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because I remember tweeting, I also said his captain was culpable because his captain was the non-striker.
Okay. Yeah.
Usually your non-striker's input is the most important one when you're reviewing an LBW. You wouldn't know it at all times. Sometimes you would when it's a dead plumb. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you would always look at the other guy and say, "Hey, what man?" So that was a weird one. But you're right. The umpire that gave him out was Alim Dar.
Yeah.
Umpires also have a bad test here and there, but it again highlights how important the role is, right? What if South Africa did not have a review at that stage?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Sri Lanka would have lost easily. We wouldn't know. Maybe Alimdar is a part of the bigger picture where we don't understand how the universe works, and this led to all that. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was a good discussion, Giri. That was indeed quite a nice test, and I think we rightly pointed out quite a lot of good things. And I think we can go on, but in the interest of time, let's go one or two steps further,
Yeah.
right? So let me see. I think New Zealand and Bangladesh are playing the ODI series currently, and there have been two one-dayers since our last episode. So there was the first one-dayer on 13th of February in Napier, and the second one was on 16th of February in Christchurch. But you can see both these both these one-dayers have sort of followed a very similar pattern of what happened. So if you look at the first one day, it was a day-night in Napier, and Bangladesh won the toss and chose to bat first. They scored 32. And then New Zealand chased it down very comfortably, right? So if you look at the scorecard, just to quickly summarize, I think they were still not ready, or they were still not in their own minds sort of ready to combat these conditions, which are completely different and alien as far as they are concerned, right? Bangladesh. So they, first of all, Soumya Sarkar had a good start. He was 30 of 22, but he couldn't carry on. The openers were dismissed easily. And then Mohammad Mithun scored a fighting 62, and he was supported very well by everybody in the tail. Mohammadullah and Sabir Rahman, though are full batsmen, could only make 13. But Mehdi Hassan Miraz scored 26, and Mohammad Saifuddin, who also is a all-rounder, he scored 41, and they were able to take Bangladesh to 232. But on that pitch and in the prevailing conditions, that was not much of a total at all. So New Zealand bowled really well. They are giving Matt Henry a go in the series by the looks of it. So he took 2 wickets here. Trent Bolt took 3, and Santner took 3, and Lockie Ferguson took 2. So they were sort of shared the wickets very nicely among each other. And when it came to their turn to bat, Martin Guptill sort of finished the match for himself. He scored 117 at run a ball, right? And Henry Nicholls scored 53 as well. So by the time the first wicket partnership was done, 100 they had added, the match was sort of beyond any doubt who would win. Only thing was Kane Williamson did not score much, and Ross Taylor kept capital company, and they finished the match off. When you look at the second one-day international, it's very similar. The only difference is New Zealand won the toss and chose to bowl, and this time it's at Christchurch. And very similar, the openers fail. Soumya Sarkar makes a promising beginning. He scored 22, but then he can't capitalize. Only difference, Mushfiqur Rahim had a 24-run innings. Again, Mohammad Mithun scores a 50. And then again, he supported all the way down the order. Right? Again, Mahmudullah fails, but in this case, Sabir Rahman made a 43. He was one of the last recognized batsmen going. And I think a few good blows by Mashrafi Mortaza and Mustafizur Rahman hung around. They had, I think they were 9 down by already the 45th over or so, and they were in trouble there. And they somehow managed to get through and get into the 50th over, but then 226 was not going to challenge New Zealand again. So again, Martin Guptill scored a run a ball, much better than a run a ball, 118. In this case, it was almost T20 like. He had a strike rate of 135, right? And Kane Williamson came good this time. Henry Nicholls failed. And New Zealand wrapped up the match very comfortably. So there were 2 man of the matches for Martin Guptill. I think he's very happy with his World Cup preparations, right? And the next ODI, we'll have to see if Bangladesh are able to make a comeback. Because when you look at how they have been performing so far, it really they look like fish out of water in those conditions, right? So they have one more ODI where they can do something, and after that they have a 3 test match series. So as far as their preparations go for the World Cup, I think they have to be a bit more careful. Mashrafi Murtaza, I think, was good with the ball, but there was not much else to write home about. I think the last episode we were discussing, and I couldn't recollect the name, it was Taskeen Ahmed, the fast bowler who missed out.
Yeah.
I think they're missing him here in this pitch. He brings that pace and that raw energy. I think they're missing him. But overall, I think Bangladesh needs to step up their game a little. First of all, they need to be able to put up a total if they bat first. If not, New Zealand would chase it down easily, right? That was just a quick summary of what happened in New Zealand. If you were to go quickly to onwards, I think let's quickly look at Irani Trophy, Giri. Would you like to take us through that?
Yeah, we'll do a quick summary. We can go through the details after that. So rest of India played Vidarbha against Vidarbha at Nagpur. So Vidarbha's home ground for this Irani Cup, as it's called now. I don't know if it's Irani Trophy or Irani Cup. I think it's
Well,
Irani Cup
call it
now.
what you will. Okay.
Okay. So rest of India won the toss and then decided to bat first. They made 330 runs in their first innings, thanks to a century by Hanuma Vihari, the India Test player, and along with him, Mayank Agarwal, the other Indian opener. He missed out on a century. He made 95. Apart from them, we also had guys like Rahane and Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan, keeper. But these guys did not contribute a lot, so they were all out for 330 runs. Sarwate was in amongst the wickets. The guy who won their Ranji Trophy basically was one of the key players. He got 3 wickets. Wakare got 3 wickets, and Gurbani, the seamer, I think he got 2 wickets. Yeah, basically it was a good score, 330 runs in their first innings, not bad. Vidarbha came back. I think their first innings was far better than rest of India's innings. Karnevar had a century. He made 102 runs, supported by Wadkar. What's his first name? I don't know his first. Akshay Wadkar, correct?
Akshay Wadkar.
Akshay Wadkar and Sanjay and Ganesh Satish, the former Karnataka batsman. All these guys contributed. Only Ganesh Satish missing out on a 50. Other guys made 50 at least. They made a 425 runs. So they basically had a lead at the end of it. So what's the lead then? So it's close to 100 runs, 95 runs. Yeah, 95 runs. So that's a very sizable lead.
Yeah.
And when rest of India came out to bat, I think they had a good batting performance second time round. They made 374 runs for 3, and they declared the innings. They put up such a good score thanks to Rahane, who made 87 runs. It was more, I would say, pedestrian. I think he had a very slow strike rate, so he just occupied this crease, while guys like Hanuma Vihari batted around him. Hanuma Vihari made another century in the second innings, unbeaten 180 runs, so he scored a century in each innings. Amazing, well done to him.
Yes.
And Shreyas Iyer made a 50. They made, like I said, 374 runs for 3 declared, setting Vidarbha a target of 280 runs on the final day, and also a little bit in the fourth day, I think.
Yeah.
And Vidarbha, because they already had a first innings lead, so they only had to make sure that they didn't lose this match, right? Even if it was a draw, they would still get their hands on Irani Cup. Well, they would still have their hands on the Irani Cup because they are the defending champions. So I'm just looking at notable performances again. Ganesh Satish, very consistent. He made 87 runs, Devil's number.
If you're an Australian.
If you're an Australian, yeah. And Atharva Taide, he made 72 runs. So they ended up with 265 runs, with Ganesh Satish the last man to get out, to Hanuma Vihari. And when he got out, the score was 269 for 5. They didn't have much to play after that. I think both the teams agreed that their game was done. It was enough. They called it off. There was a draw in the end. And Vidarbha, worthy champions again, defending champions of the Irani Cup. So well done to Vidarbha. That was in a nutshell. That's it. Man of the match. Man of the match. Sorry, man of the match was, or player of the match was Akshay Karnevar. Yeah, not Hanuma Vihari.
Interesting. Yeah, but I think rightfully that. So I'll tell you. So you actually captured the match completely and very nicely. Just a couple of statistical highlights, as you said. Hanuma Vihari twin hundreds in a Irani Trophy, right? And he played more than 500 balls in the match. So it was very unfortunate he landed up on the losing side.
Yeah.
But another thing, it was very strange to see Rahane trying to get some semblance of form, because I think we can slide into the other topic coming up, which is the Indian selectors and what they have in mind, right? Rahane was one of the names thrown around as also an option for going to the World Cup, right? They have not completely given up on him when it comes to one-dayers, which was a bit weird. But in this match, I think I would like to give a lot of kudos to Vidarbha, because they showed that a team that it doesn't have many stars, but this rest of India is full of stars, right? But it doesn't matter. A team that's gelling well and playing well, it's like when Australia defeated the world 11s that visited and
Yeah.
played them earlier, right? Just like that. Uh, I think Carnivore was the right man of the match choice because there was a lot of sting in Vidarbha's tail. So if you look at the last 5 to 6 batsmen, they have added more than 70% of the score or nearly 70% of the score in the first innings. That was so crucial, without which the match was over right then and there, right? 330 was
Yeah.
already big enough. The 95 run lead was the main thing, which slowed rest of India down enough that these guys could get away with a draw in the end. And they almost made a victory target, or they nearly made a chance to win it. But that's beside the point. So I think you captured most of the things very well. And one other small thing, I think the rest of India lost the bowling services of Gautam, who had bowled really well in the first innings as well. And when they lost him, sort of, I think it made a bit of a difference to the way they bowled, and they sort of ran out of ideas. So he could only bowl 20 overs in the match, but he took 4 wickets in that period, and I think his loss really made a difference. So another small statistical highlight, I think Vidarbha are the third team to be able to retain Ranji and Irani Cup, because that is retain it in 2 consecutive seasons. So do a double, a domestic first class double of India, which is Ranji and Irani together twice. So they are able to do it twice in a row. And only 2 other teams are able to do it. One is Mumbai multiple times, and Karnataka 2013, 2014. I think they did it twice, where they won it and they defended it. So Vidarbha is only the second team to do this. So their stature as a first class team is really growing with every performance, it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming and they played without their stalwart. There was no Jaffer in this match for Vidarbha, and they are still able to really put together a really good performance and take the Irani Cup. So really, kudos to them. So if you were to go on and look at the other topic, the one day team for India has been announced that plays Australia, right? So any comments on that? Did you see the team?
Yeah. Interestingly, Dinesh Karthik has been left out because he's primarily seen as a T20 specialist, right?
Uh-huh.
Rahul makes a comeback.
Indeed.
So he's back in the team along with Rishabh Pant. Rishabh Pant was already there in New Zealand, right? So he was in the T20 squad, of course. And then who else? I think Bumrah will be back. Kohli is also back.
Exactly.
So we have the full strength, so to speak.
Nearly. Yeah. So the idea is, I heard an interview from MSK Prasad where he claimed this is just a rotation. So he pointed out how Pant was rested after the Test series in Australia so that he gets a break. And then he came back in the T20s in New Zealand, and now Karthik has been rested. He did not indicate Karthik's career was over because of this, right? But when you hear some of the pundits out there, they sort of claim, like Sanjay Manrekar and other people, they're sort of saying maybe his career is over, DK's career is over. It would seem a bit harsh if one were to look at it, but one could also understand if that was the way the Indian selectors chose, because, this guy Pant brings in something special. He's a left-hander as well. And he's only very young, 2021.
Yeah.
He has his whole cricketing career ahead of him, and he's shown enough promise in the longer formats, right? So I think it makes sense that they also try that he's given as many chances as possible. So that's also a very good point. So any other surprises you see in this lineup at all?
Just looking at it, not a total surprise, but Vijay Shankar was already part of the lineup, so I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's basically the full strength team.
Indeed. So you're absolutely right. So Rahul making a comeback says the selectors still want him to have a chance to prove, give some chances, and that's how Pant and Rahul are in the team, is what the chief selector said. So that's how we'll take it for now. But it's just a move from the left. Let's say it was not something we were really anticipating, right? DK being left out. Going forward, let's see how it pans out, because there are no more one-day matches left for India before the World Cup. So I think they've either seen enough of DK or they have left him out. We'll have to see when the World Cup squad is announced, right? We'll go into it in one of the upcoming episodes anyway.
Sure.
All right. Now, if you were to quickly look at BBL, Giri, a quick summary.
Yeah, just to briefly point out, we had the 2 semi-finals played between Hobart Hurricanes and Melbourne Stars, and Melbourne Renegades playing the other semi-final against Sydney Sixers. Both the Melbourne teams won their semi-finals, so it's a Melbourne versus Melbourne, so Stars versus Renegades. It's going to be interesting. it will for sure be a champion from that city. The champion will be from that city, Melbourne.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that will mean there's a new winner also. I think
Yeah, new
both
winner.
these teams
Yeah, as opposed
won it.
to Perth Scorchers or last time was Adelaide Strikers, right? Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So one other thing, I was reading about this a little bit, and the punters put Sixers ahead of Renegades, and they are favoring Sixers to win, right? This is just a quick wrap up. And then, of course, we sort of talked about Netherlands tour of Oman last week, and Netherlands have played 2 T20s in the quadrangular, the Oman quadrangular, and you can see that they comfortably won both their matches. They won against Scotland and Oman. And in the second match, they knocked Oman out of the tournament. And tomorrow they play their match against Ireland. And this is sort of more or less their place in the final is fixed. So in the next episode, I think we can also talk whether Netherlands have done really well and whether they probably win the tournament. Right? I'm looking forward to this. So the limited exposure they get, they're able to make use of it. Their performance is good and their preparation looks really nice. So it's very encouraging as a Dutch team perspective, and it's nice for us to follow this staying here in the Netherlands. So that's just a quick roundup. So if we were to quickly go on, we just have the housekeeping left, Giri, right? So first of all, I would like to quickly go through the trivia question for this week. We discussed a lot of things about the 1-wicket victories, right, in tests. So let's make our question about this, right? So in this case, the trivia question for this week is, who are the only 2 players to have achieved a victory by 1 wicket in tests twice? So when we were going through the list, we sort of went through the number of teams that did it twice. So that's a clue. And another clue I can offer is that of these 2 players, one of the players has done it twice for his country by leading the charge to victory. The other player was probably a tail-ender, and he supported this, this player. What I can say is,
bystander. Yeah.
Indeed, he was a bystander. And the thing is, they are not from the same country. They are 2 separate countries. So all these are close. So if you just look at the list, you'll probably already be able to conclude who these 2 players are. Right? Those are the hints I can offer. So once again, thanks a lot, Giri, for your very valuable comments and very lovely anchoring. I think I really like what you did with the first half of the episode today. So good work there. Thanks a lot for that. So I would like to thank our listeners, and I hope they keep listening to our episodes. You can get in touch with us on armchair.cricket@gmail.com or on Twitter @armchaircricketpod. Right, so we still have a lot of cricket coming up in the upcoming weeks. We'll have the final of BBL. We'll have the ongoing tests between South Africa and Sri Lanka, and also the one-dayers between India and Australia. Really lot of cricket to look forward to. So I hope you join us for the upcoming episodes. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 9th episode of the Armchair Cricket